Hello, I'm Shane M. Nygaard, and welcome to the first house, the opening of eyes. Reflections on early morning light. This is part of my series from sunrise through nightfall, exploring the 12 houses of the zodiac through their respective times of day and qualities of light. There is an hour before the world fully arrives. The sun has not yet crossed the horizon, but its coming is already felt. Darkness has begun to loosen its hold. The night is still present, but no longer absolute. A dim radiance gathers at the edge of things. What was hidden has not yet become visible, but visibility is on its way. This is the light of the first house. The first house belongs to the hours before dawn, when the world is not yet fully visible, but something has changed. The night has not ended, but it is no longer covering the sky. As author Clive Barker wrote, dawn was close. The weaker stars had already disappeared, and even the brightest were uncertain of themselves. The horizon begins to glow. This is not yet daylight, but it is no longer darkness. It is the threshold between invisibility and appearance. In this series, I have been reflecting on the houses through the times of day and the qualities of light each one brings to consciousness. If the ascendant is sunrise at 6 o'clock a.m., and the chart unfolds as a 24-hour cycle, with each house allotted 2 hours, then the first house belongs to the hours just before dawn, roughly 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock a.m. It is not fully daylight, nor is it deep night. It is the threshold. The world is stirring toward appearance. The eyes are beginning to open. Traditionally, the first house is associated with identity, ego, appearance, vitality, temperament, and life itself. These meanings matter, but when we stay with the image of early morning light, another way of knowing emerges. The first house is not only the self as a fixed thing, it is the self as dawning. It is the psyche becoming visible. It is life opening its eyes. And here I return, as I so often do, to Carl Jung's great directive, stick with the image. Astrology is at heart an imaginal language. Jung also said that image is psyche, and psyche from the Greek means soul. So to remain with the image is not to drift into decorative symbolism. It is to enter the soul's own field of revelation. So let us stay with the images of early morning light. The first house belongs to that strange, exquisite interval when the sun has not yet risen, but its approach is already transforming the world. This is the hour of first awareness, of stirring, of becoming, of transition from sleep to waking, from interiority to expression, from invisibility to presence. The first house is often described as outer expression, and rightly so. But perhaps outer expression begins deeper than we think. Outer expression begins not merely when we present ourselves, but when something in us first wakes and says, I am here. There is a tenderness to this house that can be missed if we think of identity only in terms of persona or ego structure. Dawn is not a performance. Dawn is more an emergence. That is why the first house can feel so primal. It has to do with firstness, first breath, first light, first sight, first recognition, and first encounter. For those with first house placements, one might ask, where in life have your eyes opened? What has dawned in you? And what did you come into the world already bearing, perhaps not fully formed, but already rising? And in what way has your own presence opened the eyes of others? These are first house questions. They're not merely questions of personality. They are questions of soul. They are questions of awakening. To wake up is among the most ordinary of human acts. We do it daily. And because it happens daily, we may forget its symbolic magnificence. Each morning, consciousness returns. The world reappears. The eyes open. A self re-enters the visible field. What if the first house carries something of this daily miracle? Not identity as label, but identity as awakening. Not selfhood as static definition, but selfhood as the threshold through which life meets the day. So let's awaken to this view of the first house through a couple of chart examples. One of the most powerful examples of this dawning quality is found in the life of opera legend Leontyne Price, whose Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter all rose into the first house. Hers is a chart of presence, radiant, unmistakable, and impossible to deny. Price became the first African American opera singer to achieve international stardom, though the world did not greet that emergence without resistance. When she sang Tosca on NBC in 1955, many TV stations refused to carry the broadcast. Even her hometown station in Laurel, Mississippi, rejected it. The eyes and ears of the world were not yet open. And yet, dawn does not ask permission of the night. Leontyne Price did not merely perform, she arrived. And in arriving, she altered the field of perception around her. Her talent, authority, and brilliance made denial increasingly untenable. 11 years later, she opened the new Metropolitan Opera at Lincoln Center, a moment not only of personal triumph, but of collective awakening. Even the eyes and ears of Laurel, Mississippi were now opened. Through her voice, something entered visibility that had too long been resisted. Price, we can say, opened the eyes and ears of people around the world to the issues of racial inequality. If Leontyne Price embodies the first house through presence and voice, Painter Georgia O'Keeffe reveals it through vision. Born around sunrise in the autumn of 1887, O'Keeffe seems almost fated to belong to this house of dawning perception. Her work is filled with thresholds of sight. Again and again, she paints the horizon. Again and again, she places us at the edge of appearing, of opening. This is why her work feels so resonant with daybreak. O'Keeffe's flowers, too, belong here. They are not merely botanical studies, they are acts of opening. They teach us to see what familiarity overlooks. They enlarge the ordinary until it becomes revelatory. A blossom unfolds, and suddenly vision itself is transformed. The eye must awaken to meet what was always there. The first house is not only what one looks like to the world, it is the very fact of looking out at all. So, the ancient image of the ascendant as the helm is one of the most beautiful descriptions given to the first house. A helm does not create the sea, nor command the stars, nor control the weather, but it does orient the vessel. It gives direction. It marks the point from which one meets the world. The first house is the living edge where soul takes form and begins to steer. It is where being becomes presence, where inward life meets outward dawn. And the first house teaches us that identity is not simply what we are called, nor only what others see, nor even what we believe ourselves to be. It is also the event of awakening itself. The moment when something in us rises toward light, the moment when we become newly visible, even to ourselves, the moment when the horizon begins to glow. So the first house is not merely the house of selfhood, it is the house of first light. And in that early morning radiance, before the sun itself appears, we meet one of astrology's quietest and deepest truths. The soul does not arrive all at once. It dawns.